Hi, I'm Jon from WPJon, and today we're going to teach you everything you need to know about WordPress plugins. Plug it in, right here, right now, on this little video. Stay tuned.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm Jon Dabach. I've been building websites for companies and bloggers for over 10 years. Here on WPJon, I teach you everything I know about WordPress and digital marketing, so you can create amazing freaking websites that make money, money, money. Plugins for your WordPress site. Plugins are what make WordPress so amazing. Everyone loves WordPress almost exclusively for the plugins. You want to have a shopping cart? There's a plugin for that. You want to have SSL on your site? There's a plugin for that. You want to connect your MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever to your WordPress forms? There's a plugin for that. Speaking of forms, you want to add a form to your website? There's a plugin for that. There are plugins for everything. Everything.
It's crazy how many plugins there are. You have to be insane not to notice.
So today we're going to talk about how to install plugins and how to find plugins. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but they're all over the internet. And you should know where to go to find them, find good ones, what to be careful of, how to tell which ones are maybe good and not so good, and how to install them on your site, obviously, because you want to use them. You don't want to just stare at them and say, that's a nice plugin. How do I use it? I don't know, but I'm just going to keep it on my desktop and stare at it and say, one day I will use your plugin. Until then, you're just taking up space on my desktop. All right, it's getting weird. Time to jump into the computer. So here we are. This is our test website that we set up at Bluehost, Kid Web Design. I've kept it very basic. I don't want to kind of confuse things with different themes and stuff, so I'm doing some of these videos out of order just so that the theme itself doesn't clog the space and tutorial. So we're going to use this really simple Kid Web Design basic Bluehost install. And if we click over to the dashboard, you'll see that there on the left-hand menu, there is a big old Plugins tab. So if you click on that or even hover on it, you'll see Install Plugins, or Installed, excuse me, Add New, and Plugin Editor. One thing I'm going to tell you right now is that you're almost never going to use the Plugin Editor. I've been developing websites for well over 10 years, exclusively in WordPress. Well, not exclusively. I do some stuff outside of WordPress from time to time. I don't really talk about it much. I don't want to make WordPress jealous, but it does happen. It does happen. After doing things for 12 years, I've found out that if you're really going to start editing a plugin's code theme, A, you're going to be really, really advanced at coding, and B, you're just wasting time. There's usually enough stuff in the default plugin stuff. So you're never going to use that, but the add new and the install plugins you will definitely use. Now on installed plugins, if you click on installed plugins, you'll see that right now the only thing we have is the Mojo Marketplace. That is a default plugin that was installed by Bluehost to try and get you to buy stuff from the Mojo Marketplace. So the first thing I'm going to do is just delete that, because again, it's just bloat software. So I'm going to click on the red delete button, and you'll see it's not even active at the moment. Plugins have two states. They can either be active or deactivated. And the reason is because sometimes you want to deactivate a plugin and keep it on your site in case you want to reactivate it, but you need to deactivate it for some reason. A lot of times plugins aren't kept up to date with the WordPress core software, and so they might break your site. And an easy way to kind of see if a plugin is the one causing your site troubles is just to deactivate plugins. You'll see it on forums and blogs all over the place. They just say, have you tried deactivating all your plugins? And 90% of the time, deactivating your plugins will solve the issue, and then you just have to figure out which one of those plugins was the culprit. So right now it's in a deactive state or a deactivated state, but I don't want this plugin at all, so I'm going to just delete it. So if we go to the red delete tab, we click delete. It says, are you sure? You hit OK, and then poof, now we have a completely clean slate with no plugins. So now we have to add a plugin and see how exactly they work. So there's two ways to add a plugin. You can either find one within your WordPress site on the plugin repository, which is connected to WordPress.com or .org as a whole. And then the other way is you can actually buy them from different providers or download them all over the internet and upload them. We'll go over the easier one first, which is just doing it right in your WordPress site. So this is what you do. You go to your plugins. You can either click Add New Or you can click Add New if you're on the installed plugin page. Or you can, I'm going to do another arrow, crossing my arrows here. I'd never cross arrows. This is so, oh my God. Too many arrows. This is too many arrows. I don't know what to do about this. So here's the third and last way. You can click on this new tab. Just quickly about this new tab. If you click new, I was wrong. You can add a new plugin from the thing. Let's forget those three arrows for a second. So there are really only two places. You can click add new and add new over here. Usually you'll just click add new, but if you're already in the plugin menu list, then you can click on either of these two spaces. I'm sorry guys, the whole flyout thing, I don't ever use that. I just know it has a lot of options, but apparently you can't add plugins there. So let's click on add new right there. And here you'll see you have the plugin repository. So if you, the most used ones are always going to be on the front page, Akismet's and anti-spam, and then you can kind of read a little bit about what they are. But let's search for one. Let's say you're looking for a form plugin. Later on, I'll talk to you about the best WordPress form plugin, Gravity Forms. But for now, let's just say you don't know that exists and you want to see what's around. So you could just type in the word form in this little box right there, and you'll see all these things are related to forms. You have Contact Form 7, Contact Forms by W Forms, Ninja Forms. This WP Forms is very popular. Contact Form 7 is hugely popular. It is a free plugin. It does have some premium upgrades, I believe, but it's hugely popular, and so is Ninja Forms. You can take a look at how popular a plugin is by the active installations. So if you look over here, and this is one of the things you need to learn how to do to kind of vet a plugin if you're considering installing it. So there's two pieces of information right here that you could take a look at. You can look at, you can look at how many active installations it has, and you can see Contact Form 7 has 5 million installations actively. 5 million. And it has a 4 out of 5 star rating, which means it's pretty good. For something that's been downloaded 5 million times, there's always going to be a few people who are like, this sucks. But 4 out of 5 with 5 million active installations is huge. And then the last thing you were going to want to look at before considering installing it is the last time it was updated. So over here, you'll see two things. It'll say the last time it was updated and if it's compatible with your version of WordPress. WordPress has gone through many, many, many iterations. We're on 5 point something right now, but you should know that it's not just 5 releases. It's like they do 1, 1.01, 1.02, 1.1, 1.2. There are a lot of versions of WordPress, and each time they release a new version, there's a chance that the plugin might not be compatible with WordPress. So you want to make sure it's compatible with your version of WordPress. And the reason you want to look at when the last time it was updated is to see, like, is this developer, the person who's making this, because they're an independent person outside of WordPress, so there's no obligation for them to keep up to date with the code. But are they actually busy updating it? There are a lot of plugins that I've loved in the past that simply go unsupported and they don't work anymore. So those are kind of a couple things to take a look at. Let's say you wanted to install the Contact Form 7 plugin. All you have to do is click Install Now, which is this gray button right over here. And then once you click it, you'll see the orange spinny wheel recycling thing go, and that'll turn into a blue Activate button. Once you click this blue Activate button, you don't have to refresh the page or anything. You just click it. Your plugin will be active and ready to use on your website. So you can see right here, it redirects you to the installed plugins page to let you know, hey, the plugin is successfully installed and active on your website. Now, each plugin is going to be different. Some of them are going to be on autopilot. Once you install them, you don't have to do anything really. A good example of that is really simple SSL. We'll talk about SSL in another video, but once you install it, it just works. And then some of them have settings pages or tools, and you have to configure them in order for them to work because they have a different way of working and they don't know what you want to do, so you have to kind of tell them. Contact Form 7 is a good example. You actually need to create the form. So over here in Settings, if you click on the Settings tab, you'll see that it has its own little dashboard, right? So here's the first contact form that they have installed or kind of made for you as an example. And then if you click on the edit button, which is right under there, or if you just click on the title, you can click edit and you'll see that this is the form. But it's kind of confusing how to use it, which is why I like using Gravity Forms. It's a lot simpler. But you can click through and read about how to actually use this form in the forms instructions. So let me show you where those are. If you go to your plugins page and you'll see the installed plugins, over here on just about any plugin you'll see view details. And when you click on that, it opens up a modal window that has some information from the plugin itself. So if you just wait for it to load, it'll kind of populate with some interesting information. So we're going to pause right here and wait for it to load. Okay, it's up. I'm excited. So if you go to installation, it shows you how to install it, which is what I just kind of went over. And then screenshots are here, and it's not very helpful. So in the description, sometimes you have to kind of poke around and see how it works. So this plugin, being a free plugin, isn't very well documented, and it's actually not even in the settings tab. But a lot of times you can read the comments in those settings tab, and you'll see which one is useful and which one is not. In this particular case with Contact Form 7, it wasn't very useful. So you kind of have to poke around, and you can either do a Google search or a YouTube search. And that's kind of the drawback with free plugins. Because they're free, they're not like hugely documented, and it's actually difficult to use some of them. But they are free, and they are great sometimes. I know a lot of people who swear by Contact Form 7, and you just have to use it. I'll show you a quick kind of tour of how to use this particular one, and kind of you could see how it works. But again, some of these plugins are just super simple, and some of these are more complicated. I would rate this one under a moderate. Anytime you have things that even look like code, I kind of think it scares off most people, so it's not my favorite one. But here, if you're in the contact form area, this is the form. So you can see this is your name, your email, your subject, your message. And then over here, if you wanted to add like a drop-down menu, you could just click on the drop-down menu and then make this either a required field or an optional field. It's optional by default. And then your options would be, like red ball, green ball, yellow submarine. What drop-down is this? And then you could just, as soon as that's done, you could hit insert tag, and that's going to add a drop-down menu to your contact form. Now, of course, this is how you make the contact form. Then you'd have to save it. And then once you save it, you'll have this thing called a shortcode, which is right here. And you'll put it on a post or page. So shortcodes are a way for big plugins and different things to have all this PHP crazy code going on in a short little snippet that you could just copy and paste onto a post or page or a sidebar sometimes, or a footer or a header, and it just kind of works. So let's test it out and just make sure that our plugin understanding is really working. So we'll copy that, just hit Control-C or Command-C on an Apple. And then if you go to your pages, let's say, and I think we only have one page on the site. Yep, the home page. That's at least active and doing something. We'll click Edit. And if you don't know how to use posts and pages, just refer to my other video about posts and pages. And we'll just come over here to the block editor. We'll copy and paste in the form code and hit the blue update button like we're used to doing. And then once it's updated, I'm going to go ahead and test this out on the front end of the site. And you'll see that there's the contact form. And there's the drop-down form that we added, the yellow submarine, red ball, green ball. So it works perfectly. Wasn't the easiest thing or most intuitive thing to use, but it does work, and it works quite well. So that's an example of a plugin you can find on the WordPress repository. Now there are other plugins, again, all over the web. So what you're going to want to do for that is find your plugin, and then you're going to get an installable zip file. So let me show you a couple places you might want to look for a plugin. If you have a WooCommerce store, if you're looking to get a WooCommerce e-commerce platform, you could just do a Google search for WooCommerce plugins. And I know there's a official repository for WooCommerce, so I think they call them extensions in this case. Yep. So you can go over here and you'll see this is WooCommerce extensions. And if we click on it, whoa, looks like an ad kind of snuck in there. So let's go back to the actual organic results. I hate when Google does that. It's like you're going to click on it and in the last minute it reloads and says, no, you're going to Shopify instead of WooCommerce. Switcheroo. Not great. So here's the WooCommerce extensions. And the extensions are all plugins. They just call them extensions for whatever reason. So you can get a free extension or you can buy one. You can see some of them are quite expensive at $249. And this is a great place for me to have a shameless plug. If you are kind of in sticker shock at how expensive some of these plugins are, or you don't know which ones to use and you don't want to kind of risk it by spending hundreds or thousands of dollars sometimes installing plugins that maybe aren't even right for your website, hire me. I have two options. You can either hire me to make your website in full, or you can hire me as a consultant. And I will speak on the phone for you with you. I will speak on the phone with you, not for you. I'll speak on the phone with you for about an hour and I'll let you know which plugins are the best. And oftentimes I can install them for you free of charge because I have developer's license for them. And as a client, I am allowed to install them for you. So you might actually save a tremendous amount of money just by hiring me as a consultant. Shameless plug over. So you can use these free extensions by downloading them and you'll get a zip file when you download them. Another good place to find plugins is on Code Canyon. CodeCanyon.net is a place where you can find really cool and interesting plugins for WordPress. You'll see there's a bunch of different categories on Code Canyon, but there's a specific WordPress category. Almost all of these are plugins. So if you look at here's Slider Revolution, a page builder, an event calendar, and you can sort these by bestsellers or you can look at the newest ones. And again, here you'll see the ones that have big sales. If you take a look at Slider Revolution number 6, you'll see it has 354,000 sales. So unlike a free plugin where you could just download it and test it out, they've actually sold over 300,000 versions of this plugin. And then once you buy it from this repository, or it's really more of a marketplace, you then get a downloadable, installable .zip file with your purchase that you can download, and this is where you would install it. You go back to your homepage, or not your homepage, your dashboard. So you go back to your dashboard, you go to your plugins, and you click Add New, and then when you go back to this, this little screen, again, you'll click on the Upload Plugin button, and then once you click on that, you will choose the file, and then from this file, you'll actually choose the .zip file, and then hit Install Now, and from there, everything is the same. It'll go through, install it, it'll ask you if you want to activate it, you click Activate, and the plugin is installed. And that's really all there is to it. There are hundreds of thousands, I think, plugins at this point. Some are free, some are paid. Some of the best ones are, in fact, paid, and I use quite a lot of the paid ones like Gravity Forms or WooCommerce subscriptions or Cart Flows, or there's just a bunch of them that are absolutely incredible when it comes to adding value to your site. So I encourage you to kind of click around, look around. If you have questions, again, feel free to hit me up on my site, WPJon, but that should kind of give you an overview of how to find plugins, how to use plugins, how to kind of vet which ones are good. Always look at how many sales they get, read the reviews, make sure it's current with your latest version of WordPress. If not, it might actually break your site. And I think that's it. I hope this was helpful to you. I'm Jon Dabach, and I'll see you next time.